In current video we are going to discuss about the virtual private cloud or the VPC. So from now onwards we will discuss not only theory but we will conduct some hands-on in the specific particular product of the AWS. We will completed that theory on that part. So let's get started, starting from the VPC. So how many of you guys know about the VPC or the virtual private cloud? Virtual private cloud is actually a term just like the physical infrastructure. AWS and any other cloud provide a virtual infrastructure. Okay, there is two type of infrastructure: infrastructure of the cloud, infrastructure in the cloud. So what is difference between them? Let me explain. Infrastructure of the cloud means infrastructure related to the physical hardware which are exist in the specific cloud vendors data centers, like the physical firewalls, physical servers, physical routers, switches, any tangible items which we can touch, which we can plug, and which we can see in the specific data center, right? But infrastructure and these infrastructure are responsible by the specific cloud vendor. In our case, in Amazon, the AWS. But infrastructure in the cloud, it means the infrastructure which we will create in order to complete that virtual part, like the virtual hardware, virtual routers, virtual machines, and all of the items which are exist in our specific AWS account. So virtual private cloud, if you break the three letters in the different parts, the virtual, the private, and the cloud. Cloud we have already discussed in the previous slides. Private means you will see multiple clouds, not even in your account, in multiple accounts. Every cloud is a private because there is an isolation layer, there is a separate routers, there is a separate subnet which cannot be communicate with other virtual private cloud, regardless if exists in your account, in your region, or a different account like you and me, right? And virtual means just like the physical hardware, this is the virtual hardware, and the virtual means is a combination of files and folders, right? So these are this is called the virtual private cloud. If anyone asks you, you can just simply the example and simply give you the give the definitions. The virtual private cloud includes the virtual networks, like the networks and the subnets, route, gateways, and so on. So what the actual definition is, so virtual private cloud allow the users to use AWS resources in the virtual network, because without virtual private cloud you cannot create any resources. Just like physical infrastructure, if you don't have an internet connection, if you don't have a network switches and routers, you will not be able to connect any printer, any devices, any desktop, laptop, etc. There's nothing. Same practical manner in the Amazon. If you don't have a virtual private cloud, you cannot continue beyond that. So the user can customize the virtual networking environment as they like, such as select an own IP address range. If you have your own public IP, you can import in the VPC. Otherwise, AWS will give you the pool of IP address which you can use in different appliances in different virtual hardwares. Creating subnets, configuring route tables, and network gateways. And this is more beyond from which you are looking in your screen, right? This is the VPN gateways, the virtual gateway, the customer gateway, and so on, which we will discuss later in this course when we are starting the hands-on lab. So what's the benefits? Let's discuss about the benefits one by one. First is easy to use. So ease of creating a VPC in a very simple steps. There is some basic fundamentals which we need to use in order to complete the VPC designing part. There is some click only. So this include the subnets, the IP ranges, route table, security group will be automatically created whenever you start creating the virtual private cloud using dashboard. Pricing for Amazon VPC is free of cost. You don't need to pay any single penny in order to create the VPC, except the NAT gateway. NAT gateway is a component which allow you to go through the traffic from your machine to the internet in one-way direction. Except that NAT gateway, all the VPC are free of cost. not in Amazon, in Google and Azure and Alibaba as well. Features. So create an Amazon VPC on AWS scalable infrastructure and specifies private IP address range from any address you choose. Not only you can choose the private IP address range like 10, 172 and 192. You can choose any one of them like 20 network, 30 network, 45 network, which you want. But recommend is 172 because the 16/16 subnet pass and you can create up to 65,000 nodes. Expand VPC by adding secondary IP address. If you are using the /24 network and you have only 251 IPs, because 5 IP is reserved at any cost at any subnet. So if you have a 251 IPs and all of them are completed, what you need to do now, you cannot extend the existing subnet. You need to add a secondary IP network and then route between them so that you can continue by provisioning the virtual hardwares like virtual machines and other so on. Divide VPC private IP address range into one or more public or private subnet to facilitate running application and services in VPC. It means if you have a 2 or 3 tier application like the front end application and the back end application, so in designing perspective, the front tier should be in public subnet and the back end tier should be exist in the private subnet, but both subnet should be reside under the same CIDR block. Like if you have a 172.16.0.0/16, that should be your CIDR block. So from that CIDR block you will create two subnets, 172.16.0.0/24 and 172.16.1.0/24. One should be exist in as a public subnet where you can connect your front end machines, and one subnet should be reside as a private subnet where you will connect your back end machine. Control inbound and outbound access to and from individual subnet using network access control list or the network ACL. This is actually the stateless where you protect your infrastructure from outside malicious attack to entire subnet. Like if someone trying to hit your infrastructure from China or from Russia, you can block that specific IP address to the specific whole subnet, either the public subnet or the private subnet via network ACL. The other features are store data in Amazon S3 and set permissions such as the data can only be accessed from within the VPC. If you don't want to connect your private subnet within the to the internet, but you can connect your private machine with the S3 bucket, you can use simply via the S3 private link using the virtual private cloud. Same as for the elastic IP. If you want to connect your permanent fixed IP with your machine, you can use the elastic IP to any instance in the VPC, but always remember that IP should be the that machine should be the part of a public subnet. Okay, connect VPC with other VPCs and access resources to other VPC via private IP address using VPC peering. It means, let's suppose if you have a two VPCs, one VPC are exist in your account and second VPC are exist in my AWS account, and you wanna connect your machines with my machines, you need to connect the VPC peering in order to connect both private subnet to talk each other. Privately connect to other AWS service without using an internet gateway, NAT or firewall proxy to a VPC endpoint. If you want to connect EC2 machines or other machines with other services without connect the internet gateway or the firewall, you need to use the VPC endpoint. This is actually the some sort of routing which you need to enable in your routing table. Same as for the bridge VPC and on-site IT infrastructure using the encrypt. Like if you have a data center, and secondary if you have a Amazon cloud and you want to connect both of them, you need to use the encrypted VPN connections. And beyond that, if you have a fiber optic option, you should use, because VPN connections have a 50 to 100 MB, while the fiber optic have the 1 gigabit to 10 gigabit connection. Okay, in last video we discussed about the private network connections using VPN. Let's move forward. Private connect to customized service or SaaS solution powered by AWS Private Link. Just like the first line, if you have multiple AWS service and you wanna connect these services using VPC, you need to use VPC endpoint. And if you have a SaaS solution, you can connect using the private link. These are both are the same name, but the both are the same function, but the different name, right? User can use VPC flow logs to log information about network traffic going in and out of the network VPC. You can by enable flow logs, you can check who, what, and from where the traffic is coming and going outside or inside, right? Like the inbound connection or the outbound connection. You can check the VPC flow logs in order to check your the progress and the traffic of the specific machine, or you can check the entire subnet traffic, like you can monitor as well. Key concept, what does it mean? Key concept means how you can describe the virtual private cloud. So VPC is a network layer of the Amazon EC2. It's logically isolated other virtual network in the AWS cloud. Like I said in the earlier slides, if you have a multiple virtual private cloud, they cannot talk each other. Just like your office building, just like your branches, if you don't connect among them, you cannot communicate between the branches or among the branches. Same policies and same phenomena applied in the specific VPC infrastructure. So user can specify an IP address range for the VPC, add subnet, associate security group, and configure route table. We will discuss in detail about the security groups and the network ACL later in the slides. So about the subnets. Subnets is a range of IP address in the VPC. Normally we use the /16 subnet, but if you want to use the /8 or /24, you can use them. Use a public subnet for resources that must be connected to the internet, and a private subnet for resources that would not be connected to the internet. So we have two type of subnets. One is called the public subnet and second is called the private subnet. Public subnet normally connect to the internet via internet gateway, and the private subnets are private subnet don't connect to the internet because they don't have an internet connection facility like the NAT gateway or the internet gateway. But in some scenario we normally use the NAT gateway, where the private subnets machines can connect to the internet from inside to outside, like the Windows update scenario, the yum packages and yum updates, Linux updates. So in that case the machines can able to connect to the internet, but no one connect these machines from outside the internet, like from the home, from the office. They need to connect the public subnet machine, and then they will be able to connect to the private subnet from the jump server or the bastion host. Bastion host means bastion host is just like a server which communicate from the private subnet traffic to the public subnet traffic to the private subnet. The primary CIDR block of the VPC 10.0.0.0/16 is a default CIDR block. CIDR means classless inter-domain routing. Let's discuss using some diagrams in order to properly understand what we are talking about. So Amazon VPC, so we have three different availability zone. We have already discussed in detail about the availability zone is a physical data center. So one region have at least two availability zone. In our scenario we have three availability zones. So in three availability zone we have one router, and the target is 10.0.0.16/local. It means we have a one route table, and all three availability zone have different subnets, right? All three subnet have the same route table, and the route exists under the route table is 10.0.0.16 10.0.0.0/16, and target is local. It means all three availability zone can communicate each other. All machines which are exist among three availability zone can communicate each other, and the CIDR block is 16. So it might be possible that each availability zone has a /24 network, like 10.0.0.0/24, 10.0.10, and 10.0.20. but they all can communicate each other because the main CIDR block are exist in the route table. I think you get my point. Let's move towards forward. So VPC and subnets. So after creating a VPC, user can add one or more subnet in each availability zone. We have already discussed if your subnets are completed, you can add the secondary subnet, right? So availability zone are distinct locations that are engineered to be isolated from failure in availability zone. Availability zone is actually the physical data center which is far from the first availability zone and are connected using the high throughput fiber like the 40 or 50 terabits per second. This is a little bit complex diagram. Let's discuss in detail. So we have just like the previous diagram, we have 3 availability zone like 3 data centers. We have one CIDR block 10.0.0.16 and we have 3 subnets in each availability zone: 10.0.0.0/24, 10.0.1.0/24 and 10.0.2.0/24, right? All 3 availability zone and all 3 different subnet have a 3 different route table. So let's discuss each route table in detail. So first route table is actually the public route table and the public subnet. Why I am saying the public subnet? Because the internet gateway ID is exist in that route table. Whenever we see the internet gateway, it means this subnet and the route table all belongs to public subnet and the public route table. Anyone can connect to and from these machines using this route table, right? The first availability zone. The second availability zone have a private subnet. Why I am saying this is private subnet? That doesn't mention along with the subnet. Okay, so we were discussing about the second route table, the private subnet. So why I was saying this is actually a private subnet, how we can identify and how we can understand each subnet is either the public subnet or the private subnet. So we can find via some highlighting point, right? We can see the internet gateway are exist in the route table. It means the appropriate subnet which are attached in the route table are public subnets. But if the subnet and the route table doesn't have the internet gateway, it means is a private subnet, because private subnet, like I said, doesn't have the internet gateway. As you can see in the screen, the first route table and the first subnet is the IGW called the internet gateway. It means is a public subnet. But second subnet and second route table you will not be able to see in any IGW or internet gateway. It means there is connectivity only the local subnets like the surroundings and the neighbors availability zone, but this subnet and this availability zone cannot go beyond outside the gateway, right? While the third is just like the second one, is a private subnet, but you can see additional route which is called the VGW. VGW stand for the virtual gateway. Virtual gateway normally we use whenever we want to connect our AWS subnet with the corporate network or the data center. So as you can see in the screen, the third zone and third subnets are connect from the router to the corporate network using the VPN connection. So VGW is actually the virtual gateway, the gateway which allow us to connect from our AWS availability zone to the corporate network using customer gateway. Customer gateway also is actually represent the customer and firewall like the SonicWall, Juniper and any firewall which are exist at the edge of the corporate network, while the virtual private gateway is actually represent the AWS availability zone side. The edge router, the edge virtual router represent the AWS end, and to connect the customer router and the virtual gateway we normally use the VPN connection in order to successful transmission to and from the both end. Any question or we can proceed?
Aren't those are the private IP addresses? They are not routable in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
10.0.0.0 network is the non-routable network. Am I right?
Non-routable network, yes, you are right. So in that case, either if you use the public subnet or the private subnet, private subnet will not go beyond the internet gateway, while the public subnet will go along with the appropriated public IP. So in that case, we normally use the netting. So in both scenario, it will not routable. It will go toward the internet gateway, and after that the public IP will be attached, and the static net will work from internet gateway to the internet. Yeah, I hope you good in the internet side, the network side, because most of the students are weak in this part. So if you have any query, yes. Yes, that, and it's really interesting, one of my interesting topic. Okay. Okay, let's move forward. So these were the two diagrams which we explained. So I would like to skip some of the theory because we have already discussed such part. I would like to jump into the third diagram, or before the third diagram we just discuss the one or two parts like the VPC and subnet sizing. So we just recall this part because the video is going on. So we have 3 private subnets in across the world, right? 10 network have the /8 subnet mask. Slash 172.16 normally use the /12 or /16 prefix, and 192.168 normally use /16 or /24 prefix. Okay, this is one of the another diagram which we can discuss. So we have two availability, two VPCs, right? Each VPC have 2 different subnet. So if we discuss the first VPC have the 10.0.0.0/16 subnet, a CIDR block, while the first VPC have 2 subnets, 10.0.0.0/24 and 10.0.1.0/24. Both subnets are route with each other using the private route table, as you can see in my screen on the left hand side, top left, this 10.0.0/16. So whenever we add the top level CIDR block, the contiguous route will automatically communicate with each other, right? This is technically called a contiguous route. While the second VPC have the 10.0.0.0/16 and the 10.2.0.0/16, because second VPC shows that the first subnet are completely fill up and it required the second CIDR block, so it added the second CIDR. And in the top right hand side, as we can see that the both subnets, the /16 and the 10.2.0.0/16, both subnets are communicate with each other. So the appropriate subnets are also communicate with each other but inside the VPC. They cannot communicate with the VPC 1 because there is no VPC peering exist. So subnet routing, let's discuss the subnet routing a little bit in detail. Each subnet must be associated with a route table which specified the allowed route for outbound traffic leaving the subnet, right? So every subnet is associated with the route table. It means if the route table has an internet gateway, the appropriate subnet can communicate with the internet to and from. But if the route table doesn't have the internet gateway, it cannot communicate with the internet, and it's considered as a private route table because there doesn't mention in the subnet either is a public subnet or the private subnet. We can understand and we can call the private and public subnet on the basis of the availability of internet gateway. If internet gateways exist in the route table, we will consider the subnet as a public subnet, but if the internet gateway is not available in the route table, we will consider as a private subnet. Okay, second part is okay, subnet security. Like I discussed.
Can you wait a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Can you go to the
Okay, where we are, yeah, we were discussing about the network ACL and security group. So what the difference between the network ACL and security group? There is some difference and some key points. First, security group is a stateful, while the network ACL is a stateless, is point number 1. Second, Security group is normally used for individual machines, technically called the EC2 instances, while the network ACL protect the traffic from outside to the entire subnet, while the security group is block the traffic to the specific instance. Like if you want to block the port 80 traffic to the specific machine, you will use the security group. But if you want to block the traffic from one IP from China to the entire your subnet, like the public subnet or the private subnet, you will use network ACL. Network ACL is stateless, so that you need to create both inbound and outbound rules, while the security group is stateful, so it's by default implicit deny. You need to add rules in order to allow traffic, right? Default and non-default VPC. Default VPC those which AWS provide whenever you open and log in account very first time, right? So if AWS accounts support the EC2 VPC platform only, it comes with the default VPC that has a default subnet in each availability zone. A default VPC has the benefit of the advanced feature provided by EC2 VPC and is ready for the use. Like if you are a developer and you don't know about the networking side, default VPC will help you. But default VPC will not create the VPN connection, the VPC peering, the advanced routing and so on. So in that case, you need to create a non-default VPC, which you will create by yourself. Okay. In last video, we discussed about the availability zone and the default and non-default VPC. Let's discuss some more diagrams. Okay, in this diagram, we have a diagram where we will see how the availability zone are going to connect with the internet. So we have one AWS account, one VPC along with two availability zone, zone A and zone B. We have the CIDR block of 172.31.0.0/16, right? And its target is local. It means every subnet inside this CIDR block and associated with CIDR block can communicate each other, just like we can see in the zone A, 172.31.0.0/20 and 172.31.16.0/20. Both availability zone can communicate each other. But if both of availability zone wanna go outside of the internet, the routes must be added in the routing table, which is already added, the 0000/0, and the target should be internet gateway. IGW or the internet gateway basically represent this device, the internet gateway device, which allow us to connect the EC2 machines which are exist in either zone A or zone B from our home desktop, office laptop, and regardless where we are in the world. But if we remove this ID, we either also we cannot connect these machines, but the machines cannot go outside from the VPC. Let's discuss another diagram. Okay, in this diagram we can see we have two zones. Each zone have a 10.0.0/24 network, second is 10.0.10/24, and the main CIDR is 10.0.0.0/16. We have three machines here. We have three machines in the second availability zone. Both subnets and both machines can communicate each other, because although the routing table are different, but the route are same, 10.0.0.0/16 target local and 10.0.0.16 target local, and the gateway ID is VGW. It means both availability zone cannot only communicate each other, but both machines can go outside the internet using internet gateway. Oh sorry, my mistake, there is no internet gateway available, there is VGW available. Although we have an internet gateway, but IGW route is not available in the route table, no machines can go outside, but these machines can communicate from the VPC to the corporate network. Why? Because the VGW or the virtual gateway is available. So whenever the machines want to connect with the corporate physical data centers, they need to go to the route table. Route table will redirect the traffic to the virtual gateway. and virtual gateway will communicate to the customer gateway or the customer firewall using the VPN connection, and these machines, regardless the zone A or the zone B, can communicate with the corporate network. But as we don't have a IGW, we cannot communicate with the internet, although we have an internet gateway device available. So these are the some of the designing consideration which we need to discuss in this course, and we will discuss and we will create these infrastructure in our lab. Okay, in last diagram, as we can see, if we have other AWS services and the EC2 machines doesn't have an internet gateway access, right? So these machines can communicate with other AWS service like DynamoDB, RDS, S3 buckets and other services using the private link. Private link is actually name, but the technical is the VPC endpoint, the private network interface, which actually communicate with the route table, and route table will help EC2 machines to communicate from route table to the other AWS services. But in this only available, and this will only work whenever you don't have an internet gateway or the net gateway. Okay, last, there is some AWS service limit. Service limit means this is the default limits. If you go beyond this, AWS will give you an error until you open the ticket and expand your limit. Like you can create up to 5 non-default VPCs per AWS account per region. Like if you create the 5 region in North Virginia, you cannot create more than that. If you have a plan and if you need it in the specific region to create more than 5 VPC, you have to open a ticket in the AWS account in order to expand your limit. These accounts and these support tickets are free of cost, right? You can have 4 secondary IP address per VPC. You can create 200 subnets per Amazon VPC. You can create 5 elastic IP like the fixed IP in the specific AWS account per region, not per availability zone or per account. It means you have a 18 region, each region will have a ability to create up to 5 elastic IP or the fixed IP. You can create up to 10 hardware VPN per Amazon VPC per region, right? These are the services which AWS can integrate with this VPC. Data pipeline, EC2, auto scaling, elastic beanstalk. So these are the services which you can use using this private link, right? In next video we will discuss about the hands-on lab, how we will perform the hands-on lab using the VPC with public and private subnet like the VPC dashboard, and then after that we will create the VPC again using the individual component, like we will create the internet gateway, NAT gateway, and we will join it with each other. Third, we will create the same lab using the CLI commands, and last, in the course in this AWS course, we will perform the same lab using CloudFormation JSON. So stay tuned and let's meet in the hands-on lab. Thank you.